Hi guys, it's Alyssa. Welcome back to my channel, The Divine Venus. I'm super excited about this video because I've been talking about the North Node, aka Rahu, for bazillions of months on my channel. This entire 2020, what it feels like. I've been obsessed with the North Node, obsessed with Rahu, K2, the South Node, and I've even been talking about it on my podcast, Embracing Glory, which is now on YouTube. So if you don't have Spotify, Google Play, or Apple Podcasts, you can now watch me on YouTube, Embracing Glory. Find that. Link will be below, most likely. This is actually kind of the second part to a video I did on my podcast called Rick Sanchez and Dragon Energy, where I described what dragon energy looks like and I related it to Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. It's a fantastic podcast. You really need to be on that if you're not. But this is number 2, and I felt like this one made more sense on my main channel because I will be going in detail with astrological placements, which is what you guys seem to like over here. Really, realistically, what this video is going to show you is not only what your North Node, aka Rahu, is in your chart, but it will also show you how to ride your dragon or get into your own personal dragon energy. Now, there will be timestamps below, but I think it might be better if you watch this beginning informational section before you go and dive straight in. I also have another video real quick. I did this with Nicole Brenny. It's another sort of insight into your North Node and South Node. We talked about the movies that kind of fit. So that's something that you might want to check out before or after this video, just to expand your knowledge on Rahu K2, on the North Node, South Node. And one more thing I have to say is that I am a tropical astrologer. I will call the North Node Rahu. To me, they're interchangeable terms. I know a lot of people believe that Rahu strictly means sidereal, but really Rahu is Vedic, and Vedic can be used in tropical. So I've been enjoying the interchangeable terms. So sue me. It's because of understanding Rahu that I'm finally really able to put truth to the North Node that tropical astrology has missed out on for so many years. But this video in particular is about your dragon energy, where it exists in your chart, how to get into it, and that's why I'm green today, because I am a dragon or snake. In your chart, you have something that looks like a little horseshoe that is called the North Node. This is considered half a planet. The other half is K2, or the South Node. Together, they make either the dragon head and the dragon tail, or you could call it the serpent head and the serpent tail. Dragons and serpents are sort of interchangeable in a lot of mythology. There was a dragon king in Chinese mythology who actually became a serpent to go through the water. In the Bible, the Lucifer, the serpent, was once either you could call a man or maybe a great dragon who is now having to crawl on his belly. There are so many dragon serpent correlations in ancient myth that it's almost too hard to ignore at this point. And so you can and probably will hear Rahu known as either the serpent's head or the dragon's head. For me, I will go with the dragon more often because what I'm feeling about the serpent is that the serpent is something that we no longer have to access. And if you think about what a serpent is, snake-like energy, okay? Both the dragon and the serpent, long time ago, knowledge, wisdom, very much admired for their strengths up in here, okay? It's your genius. These Rahu, Ketu, South Node, North Node, well, North Node, South Node respectively,
are your biggest geniuses.
This is where you innovate. This is where you create. This is what you are going to devour with your head, and your tail is going to be plugged into the divine information of who you are. This is why it's your dragon energy, because this is where your genius lies. You have your entire chart, but you could literally read someone's chart just by looking at their North Node and their South Node. This is you in whatever signs it happens to be in, and you are being told to slither like a snake here, okay? This would be to crawl underneath it all to kind of get by unnoticed. Now, if you go into Chinese mythology or Chinese astrology, you have the great race of all the animals. So for instance, I'm an ox because I was born in 1985. you might be a horse or a snake or a dragon or a rat. And that's why it's the rat race, because the rat is first in the rat race and he did it and he cheated. That's besides the point. But anyway, we're putting all of this together right now to help you understand your genius and what all the ancient people understood. So you're going to take your snake energy, which usually sneaks through the water. And the idea of the snake in Chinese mythology was that it went through the water and was so quick and cunning, it actually defeated the horse without the horse even knowing. And that's why the horse is behind the snake in the great race, because the snake has to kind of go behind the scenes. So someone's very snake-like right now, we might call them like a gossip, you know, or like a liar or a cheat or someone who backstabs, you know, snake, manipulative dick. What we're like kind of understanding right now about this energy is that usually with the North and South node, we are more snake-like because our genius is usually looked at like it's disruptive, it's too big, and it's not something that people want to see. It's definitely very villainous because we are meant to sit still, look pretty. And I cannot emphasize enough how much people want everybody to sit still and look pretty. And say, because I'm a public figure and I'll get a lot of like, please don't talk like that. You need to talk better. You need to do this. You need to not say this. If you don't have whatever everybody wants me to say. And if I respond with, well, I don't understand why you want me to sit still, look pretty. People are immediately like, no, that's not what I want. I just want you to, and it's, you know what? Across the board, it's what everybody wants. It's what people want for you. It's what people want for me. Why? Because they don't want their little stupid worlds disrupted by our dragon energy. But where does a dragon go if you're not allowed to use it? If you're cursed to be on your belly for the rest of existence, it becomes this snake and it has to go behind people's backs. It has to go get what it needs, because you can't just destroy who you are because people don't like it. You can't just destroy who you are because people aren't ready for it. But let's say that we're in the cusp of a new age, and no, the new age is not something that's just like, bam, we're in the new age. We were in the age of Pisces, now we're in the age of Aquarius. People have been talking a lot about that. A lot of like, it's kind of like a lot of brand new astrologers coming into the world talking about how, bam, we're going to be in the new age. I don't really get that energy. So that's not what it is. But we've been in a cusp of a new age for quite a while. All these transitions talk of the cusp. It's about be like 100 years of just changing into this new age. But we are coming into some very interesting times, because what it feels like is that we've kind of gone as far as we can in this transition, and that we are getting pulled back into the old age, and which will kill progress and eventually kill us. So if we are entering something new, and we are entering an evolution of our human spirits and our body, we are meant to become dragons again. There's no more need for us to hide who our true selves are. If people can't handle our true selves, then those people are the ones who do not matter to us anymore. When I go through each one of the signs in your North Node, and if you don't know your North Node, you can Google North Node and the signs, or you can go to astro.com or alab.com or astro something. There's a million different places. You can go to thedivinevenus.com. You just want to find the horseshoe in your chart. Once you find the horseshoe in your chart, that is your North Node. Your South Node will automatically be on the opposite side. Usually it's not depicted in the chart. It's invisible, but it's still there, because every opposition is just a different way to get to the exact same point. And that's who we are. And that's why your North and South Node are half of each other. The South Node, they say, is the tail connected into God. But it's not a straight line. These are not so far away from each other. It's actually that the tail is within the mouth of the dragon or the serpent, devouring its own tail. So if the tail is plugged in to the dragon head, then the dragon is God in this sense, in your own understanding. The dragon is what is fueling the genius of the tail, and it's going in a beautiful circle, an Ouroboros, or an infinity symbol, or whatever you want to call it. It's your circle of your own life. And it's how you grow, it's how you live, it's how you die, it's how you become better. It's what you are, and it's what you're here for. And that's why tropical modern astrology has called the North Node your destiny. But destiny is really just another word for your expression. How are you going to express yourself out in the physical sense through your Rahu head, while your K2 tail is plugged into your own genius? And that's what we're going to figure out with this. But I am going to be utilizing a comedy tragedy trope and villains. And I'm going to try to use villains that you know, so that no one's that confused. I've tried really hard to find villains that I think are very obvious. And then I will explain them as we go through so that you guys kind of get the full energy of how you appear to people and how you can actually go too far with the dragon. And that's why temperance and self-control are the biggest things here, as well as balance. We are evolved enough. We have balance. When you are balanced, you can do anything. You can be anything. It's when we are too top heavy or too bottom heavy that dragon runs away from us, and we no longer can ride the dragon. We no longer have the dragon energy to use. So it's not about ignoring one. It's not about trying to leave one to get to the other. We don't want to be too Rahu. We don't want to be too Ketu. We don't want to be so North Node and forget our South Node. None of that stuff is true anymore. If you believed any of that, it's not true. I've been studying this for a while, and before I studied it, it was written by ancient astrologers, and they knew what they were talking about. Just over time, we become very top heavy, confused, and the dragon has run away from us. So I want to tell you how to get into your own villain energy and to really stop worrying about what people care about. Start worrying about blah, blah. I'm good at talking. So another thing I want to tell you is, again, if you are confused about where this dragon energy is coming from, I do a much better job explaining the idea of dragon energy on my podcast, Rick Sanchez and Dragon Energy, Embracing Glory. You can Google it right now. In YouTube, put it into YouTube. It's gonna be right there, or you can listen to that on Spotify. So in this comedy tragedy that I will be following, there is something called the sacred clown energy, which I never heard of. My friend Scarlet Bowles actually told me about this, and we were discussing this, and we realized that between K2 and Rahu, there is a comedy tragedy bit to it. What is wounded about us, and how it really is sort of a comedy when we devour. And I'm going to be relating it to the villains in order to kind of get you to understand how you are a villain in other people's story, and how that doesn't matter as long as you are practicing your own self-control and your own willingness to believe in your genius. So without further ado, let's get into this. We have Aries. Aries, I put you down as Loki. Now, Loki is a Marvel. He is Thor's brother, and he also is a villain who's done a lot of villainous things that eventually, I guess, redeems himself, but maybe not. Who knows? He's a trickster god. I put Loki. Loki is actually related to Mercury, so you could say Gemini, but in this case, in his story arc, it follows much more of the Aries Rahu, the Aries North Node. He is the tragedy of being the other child. The Libra South Node, the Libra K2, is the other child, is the other one. Libra is other. And so having to grow up knowing that you were the other of the chosen one, it can actually even make you very angry. And Aries is Mars, is war, is anger. And that relates a lot to Loki's anger at the world for not choosing him or taking care of him in the way that he should have been. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you had siblings in this life or even a last life. Sometimes it can just mean you have this deep, tragic feeling of no birthright, nothing belonging to you because it belonged to someone else. You are just the other. You exist to balance out the pride, which can be very, very devastating for you. And so when you take that tragedy and you come out in your North Node and your Rahu to devour in your own genius, it becomes the comedy of taking someone else's birthright as your own. You are able to take what seemingly belongs to someone and give it to yourself because of that Aries North Node to devour the self. Now, over devouring can cause you to lose everything that you ever wanted. But to devour just enough, you start to realize that you are more than the birthright itself. You are already you, already one, already everything, because everything that is not the birthright then belongs to you. The other is you. You can take anything from anybody because you are free of the chains that hold these other people down. So in a sense, the part that can be miraculous about the Rahu Aries is that you are taking the chains away from other people. People who do not want what they have anymore. You can take it for them. You can live that life for a little while and then you can be on your way. Always moving, always growing, always changing, and doing basically whatever you want, which becomes this great, beautiful part of you. The reason why this is a villain and why Loki is a villain and why you will be seen as that way, even with the tragic stories, because when you start to take things that people say does not belong to you, they get very irritated and fight back. But the truth of the matter is that they can't win enough. You will always be free because you never needed it to begin with. So no matter what you try to take, you're really just making sure that whoever has what they have actually deserves it and can guard it from you. And so in that sense, you're not doing anything in the world that should upset the status quo too much, because lazy people shouldn't be in the position that they're in. And you're checking that for them and then moving on. And this is the great part about you, and it will be the part that people will hate on you the most. And that's why that tragedy will keep happening. People will keep telling you that this does not belong to you, that you are not the right one for this. And that's where you have to kind of drown them out. And you're like, I'm actually absolutely the right one for this, because I know what it takes to be this, and I know what it takes to fight for it, and I know what it takes to take it from you. And if you aren't prepared for me, for my dragon, then you're not going to be prepared for anybody. And you might as well just at least have me try it out. So that is your dragon energy for the Aries North Node or Rahu. Taurus North Node or Rahu. I related you to Poison Ivy or Maleficent. Now, Maleficent actually turns into a dragon, which is something. But both the idea of Maleficent and Poison Ivy is that they belong to the tragedy of being stripped of their worth and value. So you grew up beginning of the Scorpio K2 Scorpio South Node that you are not worthy of anything, life, existence, or value in yourself. So there's a lot of insecurity running because it was directly taken from you. The comedy in the Rahu, the North Node, is you have the ability to take value from others, where Maleficent might take Sleeping Beauty's value, the king's daughter, from him, or you have the idea of Poison Ivy taking value from humanity as a whole after she was tortured and killed by Jason Woodrow for no reason, even though she did everything to help him. You see, Scorpio is a lot about, I'm giving you a lot of this, a lot of my time and attention, and you're going to take care of me, but you are not taken care of because you're told your worth is nothing, right? So you fight back, and it's funny for you. Actually, it's kind of making me think of Maleficent. Angelina Jolie is Maleficent when she gives that little like smile thing. And that's very much the comedy to the Taurus North Node, is that I know how to take value from anyone. You think that you have something to give the world? Well, I can make you feel like it's completely bogus. I can make you feel worthless in what you have to give, and I can do it pretty quickly. That is this major dragon energy of the Taurus North Node, is to make people feel worthless. Now, would you go up to somebody who you love or a child and make them feel worthless. Well, if you're an evil, horrible human being, you would. But that's not what we're trying to do here. The dragon itself will appear to be a villain to so many people as you in the Taurus Rahu take away their value. Whether or not that's expressing your own opinion of something, which directly goes against what they've worked so hard on, or if it's just taking their value and putting it and placing it on yourself and acting like them for a little while, because you are free to do whatever you want. You are free to challenge somebody's worth and somebody's status because yours was completely taken from you in the first place. You know exactly how to take somebody else's. And if somebody doesn't want to fight for their worth or their status, or somebody just wants to shut out your energy, you know that immediately they have lost because they never fought back for it. You now own their worth. You now own their value belongs to you until they try to fight. Something very interesting about Maleficent and Sleeping Beauty is that Sleeping Beauty is not fought for. Like Aurora, the daughter, is not fought for by the king, mainly just hid away, which means that Maleficent won always in this situation because the king never ever went back. And in Poison Ivy, she wins because she was killed by a plant, by the green, but the green saved her. So she is completely living off of the one thing that was supposed to kill her, that she was not worthy of life or existence, and yet it was exactly that she owns and she takes from Jason Woodrue, who is the plant guy. She becomes the plant woman. So if you think about this, they win by taking value and not having a formidable foe to fight back and try to regain that value, regain that precious gold that you as a Taurus Rahu can so easily take. So just like the Aries North Node, you kind of get into this thing where maybe I am a villain because I took this from you, but if it's so easy to be taken from, you don't deserve it. And maybe I didn't deserve what happened to me, but you definitely deserve what happened to you. And your dragon energy is capable of doing that. Now, if someone were to fight back and take it back, then absolutely you would say, hey, you deserve that. Good job. And that is your dragon energy as a Taurus Rahu. Okay, Gemini Rahu or Gemini North Node, this is for you. So I have you down as a villain, Harley Quinn. Man or woman, Harley Quinn. And it's because of the tragedy of being mentally tortured. Now, having Sagittarius on the K2 on your South Node is very difficult as far as making things make sense. And even when you believe that things, and you've had this higher learning, this higher knowledge, Harley Quinn was once Harleen Quinzel and was incredibly intelligent, but still what never made sense was her love for something so broken, because in and of itself, the Gemini North Node wants to be split, wants to be broken. And so that torture of getting to that place of becoming mentally broken and mentally taken apart to get to the comedy of never having to hold yourself accountable for anything. I'm just gonna throw it out here. Donald Trump makes a very good villain. Now, some people are going to be mad at me for calling him a villain, and the other half of people are going to be mad at me for not addressing his evilness enough, which in both cases, you guys, do you see where like the humor lies in that? You see that? Like the split of people. You guys are villains to each other. My hands are clean here. But this is about your Rahu and never having to hold yourself accountable for anything, and how that is one big clown. That you went through the mental torture, the brokenness, the trying to figure out what is up and down, what is left and right, what actually makes sense if nothing makes sense, to the point where now you can say, I don't make sense, so it is what it is, and I'll do what I have to do. And so when we look at just Harley Quinn's energy here, and to some people, she is a big villain. To other people, she is a big hero. It all depends on if you're fighting for their side. And that's the beautiful part about the dragon, is that dragon energy will always be there to protect one side of the war, because they don't have to hold themselves accountable for anything. They've already gone through the mental torture. Now, in balancing this out in your own life, I would say, I don't know if you've ever seen Birds of Prey with Harley Quinn. It's actually pretty good. It got a bad rap, but Harley doesn't do everything right at the end. Spoiler. But she does do right by herself. And that's the biggest thing, is that she does protect something that she loves. And so when we're coming into your own dragon energy here, is that if you are fighting for a side, keep fighting for that side. You might not have to hold yourself accountable to things within the area that you're fighting, but you do have to hold yourself accountable to that one side until that battle is done. And that's your own balance here. And that's how you ride the dragon effectively, because you're not going to make people happy on every side. You can't. Gemini is split. Gemini cannot care. And if you care, you'll lose yourself within this battle. And this is actually something, while I'm making this video, we are in Gemini North Node energy for the next couple years. So that means every lunar and solar eclipse will be following this energy, which can be pretty confusing for a lot of people who do not have it. And so that is where your power really lies right now, is really finding what is your voice? What are the things that you want to say? Gemini is about communicating. It's about knowing and giving that knowledge to the world, even if you know that it's polarizing and that there's going to be sides that don't agree. You have to use your voice anyway. And what is that for you? What side and what energy you know to be true, and doing what you have to do within that energy to make everybody else see what you can see and what you know. Here we go. I can't even talk about the Gemini Rahu without being confused myself. The fact is that you don't have to check and balance yourself, because your mere presence within something allows the entire world or system or whatever it is that you broke into to have to rewire and checks and balance itself. Just the way that Harley Quinn can break up an entire mob circle with her chaos, so can any Gemini North Node when they enter something that really should have broken down a long time ago. If something is fragile or confusing, it is up to the Gemini North Node to break it down and to see what exactly it is that was so easy to corrupt. If something is easy to corrupt, it probably has no business being there in the first place. And that is the Gemini North Node energy. Because you were mentally tortured, therefore you can mentally torture someone else into realizing that what they built wasn't as intelligent as they have tried to make you believe. That is your dragon energy. So now Cancer dragon energy, the Cancer Rahu, the Cancer North Node. Your villain here is Kylo Ren and Voldemort. Yeah, you get a little Voldy. And the reason why is your tragedy, Mr. Tom Riddle, Harry Potter, in case you guys don't know. I don't know. And Ben Solo. It's the tragedy of having restrictions on your God-given power. Okay? Because there is a tragedy of wanting to be free. Because the Capricorn Cancer sort of fall in this midheaven, 10th house, 4th house, midheaven, nadir energy, it can feel the most Rahu when we get into Capricorn and Cancer, the most dragon. And it's because of the most restrictions put on this Capricorn. And so this is your tragedy. You cannot push yourself out far enough because you have all of the chains on you, which means that you can't honor yourself or your power. But the comedy in the end of this is sharing that power with others, that you can rely on other things to keep your power safe because no one else knows how to handle it. You literally can give your power to a watch or Harry Potter. It doesn't matter. The more you put out your power to other people, the more you watch them suffer, and the longer it keeps you alive. And this is because you have so much to offer. You have so much dragon energy built up within you that you can just share it with anybody who comes in close contact with you energetically, and they will not be able to wield it. Now, this will make people really, really pissed off that they, one, can't bring you down, and two, that when they try to and get close, that it just makes you more powerful. And that is where you can laugh your ass off, okay? But people will try to hurt you. And the only way that someone can actually hurt you is when they realize what to do with the power that you've given them, that you've handed off to them. In that energy, it's about sharing the burden of your power to remind people in your own comedic fashion that they had no right restricting something that they did not understand, and forcing your energy into their lives to have to then pick up the pieces and choose whether they want to fear you or fully understand you and embrace you. You will imprint on them so that they can never forget you. You're learning about the strength and the will of people. And if they're not accepting you, you're starting to understand that people don't have a lot of strength or will. And that is why your dragon is so off-putting to them. But when you can finally find someone who is able to share your power and not be afraid, and to let people know that they shouldn't restrict what does not belong to them. And if they don't want to see it, it's up to them to hide in the hole and not fight back and prove their own authentic power to be real. And that's how you ride that dragon from that Capricorn to that Cancer North Node. Next, we have Leo. So the Leo Rahu, or the Leo North Node, and for your dragon, your villain energy that I see is both Lex Luthor from Batman and Agent Smith from The Matrix. You know, Mr. Anderson. So what I see is you are from the tragedy of being created to run a kingdom that you did not build. You see, Leo is the Rahu here. It's the North Node. That's the king. And you were from this kingdom, but you are not the king of this kingdom. You didn't make it, but you are meant to enforce it, almost in a very Simba-like way, passing down the mantle. And if you look at Lex Luthor, his father, Lionel Luthor, is the one who created Luthor Corp. And Agent Smith obviously was created by the architect, both wanting to be free. Now, the comedy in your North Node here in the Rahu is of you are capable of now expanding yourself into other kingdoms. You didn't get to build a kingdom first. You're just created to run it. But that gives you so much time to enter other people's kingdoms, bring them into yourself, absorb them into you. And when you aren't allowed a kingdom or you don't want it, you can cause its destruction from the inside because you know how to reach it. You know how kingdoms and systems work. Now, this makes people very fearful of the Leo North Node as far as when you get into your dragon energy, because they feel if they let you into their life, you could just destroy them, dethrone them, take their kingdom down brick by brick. Because you can do whatever you want. It's your birthright to understand the kingdom. And it's your North Node, your dragon devouring energy that knows how to eat all these things alive. That's the beauty of this dragon energy, and why you need to be able to fly with your dragon is to try to take these kingdoms down. Because if they're meant to stay, they will fight and they will stay, and you can move on. If they can't find a common ground within themselves, if they aren't smart enough to rewire their kingdoms or their systems, then they don't deserve to be here anymore. That's how progress flows. And the Leo North Node, the Leo Rahu, firmly understands that, because it was their birthright to know how things run. Even if they weren't the ones to build them, they can be the ones to tear them down. And so you're meant to go into the world and to challenge that status quo. Virgo. Now, for the Virgo, I picked your villain as the Riddler. Now, Riddler is one of my favorites. I talk like that. The tragedy in your South Node in Pisces is the tragedy of seeing what no one else can see. Now, like most DC villains, the Riddler is very, very intelligent, hyper intelligent, and that's why he speaks in riddles, because he can, to be that much further ahead. But there's also a deep sadness about being hyper intelligent and aware in a sense that is different than everybody else, in a place where you live that almost feels like riddles. For most people, talking to someone with a Virgo North Node, when they really get into the tragedy of their past and how they were treated, it can seem like they're talking in riddles, that they don't even understand where they came from, because nobody understood them, because they see things that are quite possibly not yet real or physically put onto earth. And so the Virgo, when you're Virgo Rahu, the comedy is that you know how to make people lose their instinct. And you can make anybody lose their instinct just by placing something chaotic or confusing in front of them. Because then you start to make their mind wind up, wind around, try to figure out what it is you're saying, and lose incredible touch with their own reality, which is their gut instinct and the reason why they live and what actually keeps them alive. Now, this is going to upset a lot of people, and they will want to kill your dragon energy. But the truth is that you are showing them that they are not rooted, that they are not grounded, that they do not even believe in their own reality the way that you desire to know so bad. You want to know what this is like. You want to know what makes their reality real. And if somebody gets tripped up by that, it's because they also don't know, nor do they care. And maybe they should start caring. And that's the power of your Virgo North Node, the Riddler. In order to keep up with your Riddler dragon energy, they're going to have to face their own instincts and to know that maybe they don't have to solve your riddle, but they do have to understand the basic building blocks of their own life. And if they can't, they will be lost in your cloud. And that is the power of your dragon energy in this new age, is to share these beautiful gifts from the divine into this physical reality. But if the physical reality is not ready for it, then it's not ready for you. So now we reach Rahu in Libra, or the North Node in Libra. And this is the Joker, okay? So the Joker, you know, from Batman, from every movie that ever is made, because they all have the Joker in them. That's not even a joke. Joker, your tragedy is a tragedy of being alone, singled out. It's that you wish that there was somebody there. Somebody, anyone. It can be the most lonely existence to have the K2, the South Node, in Aries. But you see, your Rahu, in what is your dragon head and your dragon energy, is the comedy of being able to tell any story as fact because no one was there. Now, it's not just about telling the story, it's about sharing the story. It's about utilizing your own genius energy and imagination and creativity of being one within yourself and building new ideas and new worlds for other people to fully understand. Now, in this sense, it's a continuation of this Virgo North Node energy, where the Riddler is completely taking something from a reality that does not belong here and trying to make people make sense of it in order to understand their own reality. You are about creating things from within your own understanding of truth based on your own isolation and self-understanding. You understand yourself. Other people don't understand other people, and you don't understand other people. And so you can show them a new face every time in order to get them to find themselves. If somebody doesn't know themselves, they're going to look at you as if you are the clown for existing in whichever way you want to. That dragon which you will become will just be a mirror held up for them to see that they really have no idea who you are. And by this logic, they also don't understand who they are. You are the comedy of being whoever you want to be whenever you want to be it. Because when you are face to face with another person, you can either choose to react and repel them or to become like them, never fully having to be yourself ever, because you always were. And what this does, and this is how this dragon energy aggravates people, is because people live so externally, so outside of themselves, they use and gauge themselves based on other, which you've never had to do. And so when they come in contact with you, you make them confused about their own energy and their own understanding of self and their own wants, needs, and reactions to you and to other things. What you are trying and what you are forcing people to have to see is that not everybody is a reflection of their own reality. And you know that because you knew who you were without the reflection of somebody else. And that's what makes you powerful. And that's what makes your dragon energy so dangerous to people, when in reality, you're just shattering the mirror. Scorpio, if you have a Scorpio Rahu or Scorpio North Node, I found you to be the evil stepmother.
And the evil queen. Obviously, the evil queen's also a stepmother. You are the tragedy of being worth a lot, but not being seen for what that is. Having to push out or actually share space with another person in order for you to finally be seen as the great person you are. Your status isn't something that people care about. Your value is not something that anybody is looking at you and seeing. So the comedy of it all is that you have to go out and attach to someone else or something else or another energy in order to be noticed, which puts you into this dragon villain evil queen. You're known for your relationship to Cinderella or Snow White or whoever else, not because you are also this amazing person. It's always in relationship to somebody else. So you might as well prove that you are better than that other person who is just noticed, say, because they are. And I guess in the opposite way, this is, if you look at the Taurus North Node, which is opposite you, they were seen for their value and stripped of their value. And you're coming from this other place of being like, well, no one saw me for mine. And so I might be the one to strip you of your value so that other people can see how valuable I am. But it comes from your own love of self and desire for the world to know what you have to offer.
Of being able to live easily in the lives that other people have already built. To be able to jump ahead into somebody else's building, someone else's worth, into somebody else's value. But the idea here is that if it was so easy for you to just jump into and live like you've always been here, then maybe it wasn't worth that much to the person who built it. If it belongs to you, no one can take it from you. And you're the biggest proof of that. And you see, that's where that dragon takes over, because you're showing people that it's not that big of a deal. It ain't that hard. we can all figure it out. Because the Taurus had something great at one time,
and no one saw it, no one seemed to care, and therefore you were capable of living in that energy, of feeling great with no eyes on you, no one wanting to buy what you could sell. So at this point, the fact that you can live in any area, even if it wasn't something that was your birthright, doesn't mean that you don't actually belong there. It's just that you're finally being seen, and that disrupts the places that you go into.
It can almost look like the Scorpio Rahu, Scorpio North Node loves nothing. It's just that these things don't matter as much. And so if somebody's really holding all of their value in something external outside of them that wasn't so awesome, you're forcing them to look back inside of themselves, back internally, and refine their value, refine their truth and what belongs to them. You level people up. But if they're not willing to be leveled and they're only willing to focus in on you taking from them, then do they have much value to begin with? And that is your dragon energy. Okay, Sagittarius Rahu, or the Sagittarius North Node. Now, for your villain, I picked Thanos.
Because he is inevitable.
But Thanos' tragedy is the tragedy of being misunderstood and wanting to make sense of things in a nonsensical world. You are the Sagittarius North Node, so you have the Gemini on the South Node, and things need to make sense in that K2, in that South Node. And the problem is the world doesn't make sense. And so the comedy of it all, when you get into your Sagittarius North Node, is the comedy of you being nonsensical to the world, but being inevitable. Because the thing is that this world is nonsensical, and slowly over time it will innovate and it will scientifically change and progress, and things will start to make more sense. Those things that we thought would never make sense will come into understanding and into being. Not that you're going to get rid of half of the population, but the idea that what you're talking about to people seems so far-fetched, but to you, this is real. This is something that would create a better life for people if they chose to accept it. The problem is, in your dragon, they will never accept it. They will never see the things you see. They will never understand the desires of your own heart until they see you do it. Now, they might see you do it and try to attack it. They might see you do it and love it. Usually they'll try to attack it. They'll try to switch it over. They'll try to tell you that you're still on the wrong path until they realize you are on the right path. That's when you get them to you. Sometimes, just like Thanos, you will be fought and fought and fought until, it switches back. And in that case, what you're doing with that dragon energy is you're forcing people to look at the lives that they lead, the lives that they have, and asking them if this is what they really want, or if there's a better way. And if there is a better way, would they be willing to sacrifice themselves to get it? Because you were willing to sacrifice yourself to get to something that makes more sense in this nonsensical world. You see, if you're a Sagittarius North Node, that is your biggest thing. It just doesn't make sense. So why will I follow this? When you see people, lemmings, jumping off a cliff, you're like, why are they doing that? It just doesn't make sense. But they're falling off that cliff looking at you being like, what the hell is your problem, you crazy person, not flying off this cliff? We're doing this for a reason. What's your reason? And your reason is always to make sense, to find the logic of it. And the logic doesn't always exist within feelings. It doesn't always exist within happiness for everybody, because it's not always just to be fair. to be fair, you lose a lot of your justice. And so justice will be after you. You know, justice. But that's the totally DC and Marvel. You guys are totally opposite. But totally, if Thanos was in DC, Batman would be after you, Thanos. And when you are in this Gemini Sagittarius, you are fighting with knowledge and logic to get your understanding of why we exist into the world, because of your correlation to the womb of all creation, to you trying to pick up the codes and the understandings through the life that you lived, and the fact that you were in these walls of things and sayings and traditions that just did not make sense. So finding your truth is going to be very awful for people. In reality, it might be the most divine understanding, even if it's not just. I'm not talking about genocide. Oh my God. This is a metaphor for your own understanding of what do you have to do? What path do you have to follow in order to make life make sense for you, that for some reason is going to greatly affect the people around you to make them attack you, even if you feel like you're staying in your same lane. But eventually you're going to become external with that. And eventually you're going to be showing people, hey, this is not logical. This is not right. And they're going to be confused. And that is why you've become such a menace to people who like to live in their own little boxes. And you are destroying their boxes. And that is perfectly fine, because their little boxes are outdated. And you know that because you carry the truth, because you've been looking for it your whole life. And that is your Sagittarius Rahu, Thanos. Now we have our Capricorn Rahu, or Capricorn North Node, and I gave you guys Darth Vader. Now, the story of Darth Vader spans so many movies, but it does start off with little young Anakin Skywalker, who lives a boring life with his mother Shmi. And he is ripped away from the god-awful Jedi who do not take feminine power into consideration. And that is the tragedy of the Capricorn North Node. The tragedy of being taken away from safety. Your comedy is that you can now take the safety and the homes away from people. Right? How cool, Darth Vader. I'm super excited for you. Because it is your greatest tragedy that when you had to go out into the world, that family was no longer safely with you. You understand that people can live without their familiar safety, without their traditions, without their everyday life going exactly the way that it's supposed to go. And in a new age, when the status quo changes and people are starting to understand that maybe the old way of living needs to be gone and there needs to be some new way of living, they would be willing to innovate. They would be willing to think on their toes and on their feet and to wonder what is actually worth saving. And Darth Vader would be able to show you that it's not about fighting what you hate. It's about saving what you love. And that's always what the world should be about, and letting go of the rest. Where you might not have been able to save the things you love, you can show people through taking things from them, taking their safety. And I'm not saying you go in and you rob them, because that's not real dragon energy, that's snake energy. You know what I'm saying? That's like when you're not thinking straight and you do something because that Capricorn North Node comes out and you don't know what to do with it and you're just a bad person. This is when you are riding your dragon and you're starting to understand that, hey, this tradition is not something that I think we need to hold on to anymore, and to express that energy out into the world, to put that out there, to say, this isn't the way we're going to do things anymore, and to take it out, to wipe it away. It's a comedy of being able to build up your own empire. You might not have had what you want. You might have been taken away from the safety that built you up, but you still had something. And your dragon energy allows you to want to keep building up empires, to make something bigger for yourself, some walls to protect you, this greater expansion of self. It is a war among empires, and of course they're not gonna like you pushing in that general direction with your dragon energy in this Capricorn way. But they're gonna have to fight you for it. And if they don't, you will take over. That's how empires are built. And sometimes new empires have to arrive in new ages. And that is the energy that you're bringing forth. And that is your dragon energy. If you're Aquarius, Rahu, or Aquarius North Node, I have the villain that you are as Catwoman. Because obviously Leo is like a cat.
And Eric Killmonger from the Black Panther. Both of them have this birthright about them, but born up in poverty in some way, shape, or form. There's lots of different reiterations of the Catwoman story, but mostly she is considered a petty thief turned bigger thief who grew up on the streets or in foster homes or never really taken serious or being treated like that Leo queen or king that they are, and having that energy of knowing that there's something greater for you and having to work your way back up to receive it, only to find out that the world that you're trying to enter is corrupt and needs to be shaken down. Something that you might not have seen if you were born the king in the castle. You needed to be born on the streets to make the world better.
But the comedy of this is that now you are capable of ruling at any time, anywhere, any kingdom that you enter. So much so, Catwoman has control over Batman. Probably the only love interest Batman has that he can't seem to shake, even though he's such a playboy, right? But Catwoman is his match. Even if she was not built or born into the same riches or power that Bruce Wayne was built into. And that's the full energy of your dragon energy, is that it's okay for you to rob from the rich and give to the poor and help them. And what you end up doing then is building your own kingdom of faithful and loyal servants through that transmutation. But the thing is that dragon energy is what people don't like, because they see you as a thief taking something that does not belong to you. They don't see you as a former queen or king. They don't see you as anything special. They see you as simply one of everybody else, and they don't like that you would put yourself forward and act like you deserve something that you don't, because people don't like underdogs, and people don't like when anybody can just play their game. But that's exactly what the Aquarius North Node, the Aquarius Rahu dragon energy is meant to do, to go up to the highest heights and say, hey, I know how to get here, even though I'm not from here. When you have the Leo South Node, you didn't have really anything except for yourself to rely on. Now you are trying to find this kingdom. So wherever you are, you know that it's not where you're supposed to be. So even if you are coming from a place of affluence, it's not necessarily like you're trying to take the people's affluence around you and give to the poor. You're actually trying to find this new place to rule over. And in that case, you need to find what that new place needs, and you will deliver it to them by transporting the wealth, changing the situation for them. Of all the people, the Aquarius North Nodes are the most likely to find that they upset the elite more so than any of the other ones when they are allowed into their dragon energy, because they are infiltrating the walls, the social walls of something that doesn't think it wants them.
The Aquarius North Node energy is full on kill the king, rob the king. It doesn't matter. But ultimately, in the end, the genius that you have is that you are the king yourself. And so it's a replacement. And that's getting into your own energy to realize that you can't be doing this for selfish purposes, but like Eric Killmonger, to get out of the selfish, petty thief and into that you're making a movement for yourself and your people. And that is how you do it. But of course, you're going to come in and into any new place and they're going to be pissed off at you. They're going to be upset that you would take something that they think is fine, even if it's not anymore.
And that is the Aquarius North Node. Okay, this is the final one. We have our Pisces Rahu, or a Pisces North Node. So what we have here is the villain that I put you as are, well, actually, kind of, it's not a Disney villain per se. The Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, or Ursula from The Little Mermaid. The tragedy on its own with this situation is being born
void of magic and what you might consider to be your own heart and soul, sort of searching, find that unconditional love that was taken from you, and possibly taking it from someone else who isn't even aware of how great it is.
Everything is too real. Everything is realistic. It's grimy. It's physical. It's the reality. But the comedy of it all is to create magic from other people's misfortunes. And so most in particularly Ursula, taking away Ariel's voice and using it for her own magic. The voice itself is more magical than the gift Ursula gives her of legs. And that is what Little Mermaid Ariel has to figure out in the end. But the villain is the one who forces her to realize that. Without Ursula forcing this on her, Ariel would have been caught up in her own stupidity and not have valued her own magic enough. And that is where your dragon energy comes in. You will rip to shreds the magic of other people so that you can take it. And if people let you take it so easy, it's because they don't value what they have. They don't value the magic of their own lives. They envy things that don't belong to them. And you're showing them that, hey, everybody has their beautiful particular gift. And when you are void of those growing up, you know exactly what they look like. And you know how to utilize them to best suit you. Usually people don't know what to do with their magic until they see you take it from them and do something great with it, and then they want it back. And doesn't that make you feel pretty shitty? Because you're the one innovating with this energy and they literally don't know what to do with it. But that's what your dragon energy is showing them, that you're not going to stop. You can climb the ladder one foot in front of the other by taking things, taking magic, utilizing it, and then they can take it back and you'll find something higher and bigger and better to take on as your own, to the point where you develop your own sense of magic, which is that you are a chameleon. You can be whoever you need to be, whenever you need to be it. You literally can walk into a community, start doing whatever it is they're doing, get all the attention, show them that there's power there. And then when you're done with it, you can walk out, and then all of a sudden the people in that community value what they had. Even though they spent the entire time attacking you for trying to take it, they now see that it was something worth guarding in the first place. This is the energy and the dragon energy of the Pisces North Node.
What is your sporg note? What is your heart? What is your soul? When you speak, when you sing, when you do, what is that magic that comes out of you? Because if you believe that there is something better for you on the other side of the world or in another land, you will let someone come in and steal your heart. That is what your dragon energy is. You are the heart stealer.
I'm becoming Carrot Pop with these props. Anyone can just go be Thanos. But it's when that person leaves, when the Pisces dragon leaves, that people start to realize what they had, and then they guard it. And you can go on being that chameleon, doing whatever you want to do in that freedom. And so thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you understood a little bit more about your dragon energy. If you are interested in learning more about the life and the past and your destiny, sort of understanding of the North Node and South Node, or Rahu Ketu, I would suggest that you watch the video that me and Nicole Brenny did on my channel, the movies that represent your life path and what you're meant to do, because that's sort of different than the dragon energy that you also hold, but they work together. So this video is in counterpart with that, as well as my Embracing Glory podcast. So please, there's about 3 podcasts so far on dragon, pretty sure, so you can kind of get to understand the myth and what it means and how to be it. And yeah, and I hope that this helped you understand more about where you are and why you turn people off and how that doesn't matter anymore. And I will talk to you later. Bye.